Welcome back to the channel. Imagine returning home months earlier than expected after a military deployment, only to walk into your house and discover your roommate hiding something in your bedroom. That's exactly what happened to Ethan Carter. What he saw that night left him shocked, confused, and questioning everything he thought he knew about his best friend. But the truth behind those scattered papers and secret documents was far bigger than he could have ever imagined. Stay with us until the end to discover the incredible twist that changed Ethan's life forever. Before we begin, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another amazing story. Now, let's get started. After 9 long months deployed overseas with the U.S. Army, Staff Sergeant Ethan Carter finally received orders, allowing him to return home earlier than expected. The mission had been difficult, filled with exhausting days and sleepless nights. But Ethan was proud of what his team had accomplished. Instead of telling friends and family about his return date, he decided to surprise everyone. He imagined the look on their faces when they saw him standing at the door. Most of all, he looked forward to seeing his roommate and best friend, Jake, who had taken care of their house in Texas while Ethan was away on deployment. The flight home felt longer than any mission Ethan had ever completed. His mind was filled with thoughts of familiar places, old routines, and peaceful mornings that didn't begin with military briefings. When his plane finally landed in Dallas, he rented a car and drove through the quiet streets toward home. It was already late in the evening, and the neighborhood looked calm and unchanged. Ethan smiled as he parked in the driveway. He expected the house to be dark, since Jake usually worked late shifts. Carrying his duffel bag over one shoulder, he quietly walked to the front door and unlocked it. The moment Ethan stepped inside, something felt unusual. A light was glowing upstairs. He stopped and listened carefully. The house was silent except for a faint sound coming from the second floor. At first, he assumed Jake was home, but something about the atmosphere felt strange. Ethan slowly set his bag down and moved toward the staircase. Years of military training had taught him to notice details others might miss. As he climbed each step, his curiosity grew. The sound became clearer. It was the noise of drawers opening and closing, followed by the rustling of papers. Ethan frowned and continued upward. When he reached the hallway, the light was coming from his bedroom. That immediately caught his attention. Nobody ever used his room while he was gone. Ethan approached the door and gently pushed it open. What he saw made him stop instantly. Jake stood beside Ethan's desk, surrounded by cardboard boxes, old folders, and stacks of documents spread across the floor. Several drawers had been removed and placed nearby. It looked as though someone had searched every corner of the room. Jake turned around suddenly. The second he saw Ethan standing there, the color drained from his face as if he had seen a ghost. For several seconds, neither man spoke. Jake stared at Ethan with wide eyes, while Ethan tried to understand what he was looking at. His bedroom looked completely different from the way he had left it. Important papers, family photographs, and old belongings were scattered everywhere. Ethan's heart began pounding. Questions flooded his mind. Why was Jake going through his things? Had something been stolen? Was there some emergency nobody had told him about? Finally, Jake swallowed hard and took a step back. In a shaky voice, he said the words that instantly made Ethan even more suspicious. "You weren't supposed to see this." Ethan's stomach tightened as tension filled the room. Ethan stared at Jake, unable to process what he had just heard. The words echoed in his mind, making the situation seem even more suspicious. After everything they had been through together, Ethan never imagined he would walk into his own room and find his best friend secretly digging through his belongings. The trust he had built over years suddenly felt fragile. Taking a step forward, Ethan demanded an explanation. Jake looked nervous, glancing at the scattered papers around the room. For a moment, it seemed as though he was deciding whether to tell the truth. Finally, he sighed and motioned for Ethan to sit down. Jake picked up a thick folder from the desk and handed it to Ethan. Inside were legal documents, maps, and letters with official seals. Ethan flipped through the pages, confused by what he was seeing. Many of the papers carried his family name, including the name of his late grandfather, a man he barely remembered. Jake explained that several months earlier, a lawyer had contacted the house looking for Ethan. Since Ethan was deployed and difficult to reach, the lawyer had left information with Jake. At first, Jake thought it was a mistake, but after checking the records, he realized the documents were genuine. The lawyer had discovered ownership records connected to an old storage unit that belonged to Ethan's grandfather. Hidden among forgotten possessions were land deeds, financial records, and legal agreements that nobody in the family knew existed. The property covered several acres outside Dallas and had remained untouched. For decades, Jake explained that he had spent months helping the lawyer organize everything while waiting for Ethan to return. He wanted all the paperwork ready so Ethan would not have to deal with the complicated process himself. The boxes in the room contained copies of records, family history documents, and evidence proving Ethan was the rightful heir. Ethan listened in stunned silence as Jake continued. The biggest surprise had come only a few weeks earlier. A large development company had approached the lawyer with an offer to purchase the land. The area had become valuable because of new construction projects nearby. After negotiations, the company agreed to pay several $1 million for the property. Jake pointed to another folder containing the finalized agreement. Ethan opened it and felt his jaw drop as he read the numbers. What had started as a forgotten piece of family history had turned into a fortune. Suddenly, everything in the room made sense. The tension that had filled the room slowly disappeared. Ethan looked at Jake and realized how wrong his first assumptions had been. Instead of betraying him, Jake had spent months protecting his interests and helping secure his future. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Ethan thanked his friend for everything he had done. A few weeks later, the sale was completed, and the inheritance officially became his. Rather than letting money change his life completely, Ethan chose to invest wisely. Together, he and Jake launched a business using part of the funds. Their friendship grew even stronger, built on trust, loyalty, and the incredible discovery that neither of them would ever forget.